I'm going to get roasted for this. This is the iPhone Air, and I switched to it back in September from the iPhone 16e, which I'd been using for most of this year. Back then, I said this is a long-term commitment. I'm not going to stray from it. I'm going to use it for 12 months, basically. Now, it is, what date is it? The 14th of November. I've switched to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not draw this out. I have gone from this to this, which means I've ditched the iPhone Air. I know that means I've gone back on my word, and also I know that already people are fed up with YouTubers switching phones all the time, but I'm not going to apologize for this though, because there's a very specific reason for doing this, and also I think it will help you if you're still thinking about buying the iPhone Air or possibly something else. I think my experience with this, as frustrating as it has been, tells a very interesting story about this phone, and it's not all bad, I promise. There's some very good things about this, but I've got some explaining to do. The iPhone Air has a very passionate fan base already. I know that because I featured it twice on the channel already, and whenever I say anything remotely negative about it, about the battery life, about the camera system, those people jump on me straight away in the comments. I think that speaks very highly of this phone. I think the fact that it has amassed that fan base so quickly, no idea how big that fan base is. If you're part of it, by the way, get involved in the comments. But it's there, and it's happened very quickly, and I'm not surprised at all. Yes, we do keep hearing that Apple is slashing the production of the iPhone Air, although sometimes that we then hear subsequently that isn't the case. It's all hearsay, it's all rumours, we don't know what's true, but there is clearly an audience out there for this phone, which is good news. However, I've discovered it's not me, and that begs one big question. What is it that's made me go from this to this? The big problem I have with the iPhone Air isn't the obvious one. It's not the battery. I'll get to that in a second. Firstly, it's the camera system. The lack of that wide angle is a problem, and yes, I know people keep telling me that you can shoot a pano to get that wide angle or turn the phone around and use the center stage selfie cam. Both of those are workarounds. They just don't work for me. I don't think you should have to do that. Samsung and Motorola, both of whom have thin phones on the market at the moment, they have ultra-wide lenses, so I cannot accept that, I'm afraid. It's definitely a negative for this phone. Then we have the zoom, or the lack of it. So you get 1 times, 2 times, and then up to 10 times, basically. And beyond 2 times, in fact beyond 1 times, it's all digital, and it's not great at all. And for me, again, it's not good enough. I need to get closer to stuff. I want that lovely bokeh and the compression that you get from a proper 4 or 5 times optical zoom, and it's not on this phone, and it's an expensive phone, and I think it should have it. Then the second issue for me is the fact that as soon as you add a case to the iPhone Air, it's not an iPhone Air anymore because it's thicker, and you've lost all of the stuff that makes it so special and so unique and beautiful. That's gone, which means the concessions you're making with the camera system and some of the battery stuff, which I'll come on to in a second, it doesn't seem worth it anymore. Which means to fully appreciate this phone, you've got to have it naked, and trust me, you do not want to drop this if you've got it naked, because game over. So that's my problem with it, but what's the battery life really like? I never do battery testing or benchmarking because I don't have the patience for it, but what I can do is give you my opinion after roughly 50 days of using this phone. The best way to describe the battery life in the iPhone Air is that it's very Jekyll and Hyde. What I mean by that is that if you use this normally, emailing, WhatsApping, Slack, taking photos, occasionally shooting video, doom scrolling on Twitter and Instagram and all that sort of stuff, Facebook, etc. If you do that, and you go from your house to maybe a place of work or whatever, and maybe to the gym occasionally and back again, you will be fine with the iPhone Air. And that is what I see in the comments. Most people are saying, it's fine, I get to 9 p.m, I've still got 20% remaining. And in my testing, that's exactly what happens. On those days, I tend to get to about 9 p.m. with 20, sometimes 30% remaining, which is brilliant. Fine, I can deal with that. Where it starts to fall apart is when you start to go outside of your normal routine. So for me, that's traveling. I travel quite a lot for this job, and that means that I get on a plane maybe in the morning, and by the time I get to my hotel at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, this is nearly dead, or it's at least got to 20% battery remaining, which means I have to charge it. And I might have stuff to do that evening. I might have things to go and take photos of and film and do all that sort of stuff. So for me, that's not good enough. And it means I'm constantly thinking about the battery on those trips. I'm always walking around with power banks, and there's a reason Apple introduced this with its own power bank, which by the way, I did not buy. I wanted to do this properly and see what this phone's like without that crutch, basically. But the truth is, you need that crutch if you go outside of your normal routine. And occasionally there would be normal days where it would do a very similar thing and by sort of 4 or 5 o'clock need charging. And I'd look back at those days and think, well, I've not traveled, I've not been on a plane, it's not switched, to my knowledge, networks. It's been a normal day. You don't get that from this or any of the other Android phones I've been testing recently. They just work very consistently in terms of battery life. So for me, it's just inconsistent and I can't live with that. But let's get on to what I've learned since switching to this. This has been a very interesting switch, and these are 10 quick-fire things that I've learned since going from this to this. Number 1, Cosmic Orange. It's way too tempting. While I was using the iPhone Air, this was sat in my kitchen next to my coffee machine, and every time I went to make a cup of coffee, it was looking at me. It was winking. It was doing that suggestive kind of, come on. If I'm being totally honest, Cosmic Orange was quite a big deciding factor in going from here to here, and I don't care. Number 2, it feels amazing without a case. Yes, I'm going naked with this, with the phone, obviously, stop laughing at the back. For 2 reasons. 1, because it feels fantastic, like I say, but 2, because I want to see how durable or not it is. We've heard loads of stuff about Cosmic Orange chipping and scratching and doing all that sort of stuff. At the moment, it looks absolutely fine, but I will report back on that. Number 3, I love the size of the Pro Max display. I'd forgotten how nice it is to have all of that screen estate in front of you. There is a downside to that, which I'll come on to later, but look at it. Number 4, the camera system is a big relief. I knew this would be the big thing going from here to here, and having the ultra wide, having the 4x optical, having that 8x, is it digital? I can't say, is it digital? I think it is. But just having those zooms which work, it's really, really reassuring, and it completely confirms why this was the right thing to do. Number 5, the battery is as it should be. It's very, very good, and I finish most days with about 40% remaining, whether I'm traveling or, in fact, no, that's not fair. A little bit less while traveling, but it doesn't hit 20% or 10% at 4 p.m. on those days. It's very reliable, and that means a lot. Number 6, it's just as magnetic, particularly in Cosmic Orange, as the iPhone Air. Yes, the iPhone Air has a kind of halo effect because it's new and thin and all the rest of it, but this, in person, is stunning. I know some people don't agree with that, but for me, it really is. And lots of people want to touch it just as much as they want to touch this. Does that matter? No, it's very vacuous, but who cares? Number 7, I kind of covered this earlier, but this is the internet. There has to be 10 of these things. It's the fact that I haven't picked up any damage yet. It looks just as fresh as the day I bought it. Again, I'll report back on that. Number 8 is, this is where the negatives start to come in, and it's the fact that the novelty does start to wear off relatively quickly, although you could probably say that with most phones, really. The Cosmic Orange thing, yeah, it's orange. The fact it's big and it has this lovely display, great, but then there is an issue with that. It just turns into your iPhone, doesn't it? Although I think if you had this naked, I think the honeymoon period would last a bit longer, possibly. With this, it's starting to tail off. Number 9 is that massive display and the fact that occasionally it's too big because you have to do finger gymnastics if you're using it one-handed to get to the top of the display. And lots of app developers, including Apple, put stuff up here. And I think the iPhone Air, I think it has the best size. It certainly has the best compromise in terms of device size and display in the iPhone lineup. This is a little bit too big, even though it's lovely. Number 10 is the fact that this is the perfect creator tool in terms of a phone. So if you want a phone to shoot reels for Instagram and shoot stuff, long form stuff for YouTube videos, quite a bit of footage you've seen recently on this channel was shot with this. It's very reliable in terms of the camera system. The battery, like I say, is great. It gets you through a day of very heavy usage, no problem whatsoever. It's just very good for a YouTuber, and that's my job. And this brings me to a final thought. When I first committed to the iPhone Air, I had this weird idea of using the iPhone 17 Pro Max as a production phone for taking photos and videos and that sort of stuff. The reality of that was fairly stupid because it meant I had 2 iPhones plus an Android phone, maybe plus two other Android phones, and it was just too many phones. It didn't make any sense, and that meant this got left at home more than coming out with me. So that was a mistake, and I think saying I was going to commit to this was a mistake as well, but I did it with good intentions. I absolutely promise I'm not going to do the British thing of apologizing for that because I've changed for a reason, and hopefully this video has helped anyone who's still thinking about this phone. I must reiterate, it's a fantastic iPhone, and for the right person, you will absolutely love it, trust me. Will I ever go back to it? Maybe. The novelty of this is starting to wear off, so who knows? Stay tuned for that. But as always, guys, I want to hear from you. Have you bought the iPhone Air? Have you sent it back? Have you kept it? Have you gone from this to this or something else? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. See you in the next one.